Thank you both very much. And I do want to go now to the Republican Congressman from Texas, Will Hurd. He sits on the Homeland Security and Intelligence Committees, also a former undercover CIA officer. And I want to begin there, Congressman, because I don't know if you just heard the debate there between former Trump campaign strategist and the former Deputy Secretary of State talking about whether this executive order would provide tools, recruitment, a message that the United States is against Muslims to those who wish to do us harm. You are an undercover CIA agent. How do you see this?
Well, I think it's a sign of distrust to many of our allies in that region. We have about 10,000 Americans in those 7 countries. Our men and women that are on a military base in Iraq. Who's protecting that military base? It's Iraqis. We have special forces in Syria, and they're shoulder to shoulder with who? Syrians. And this is an issue that is going to cause friction with many of our partners. We've seen in Iraq that there were the opponents of the current administration in Iraq trying to use this as an example to kick U.S. forces out or to not cooperate. We have to remember that we do live in a dangerous world. And to fight Islamic terrorism, we need allies and we need partners. And in a place like Iraq, many Iraqi men and women have given their ultimate life to put ISIS and Al-Qaeda on the run in order to keep them off of our shores.
So the Trump administration, has obviously picked the 7 countries, by the way, same ones that Congress had identified as risks under President Obama, but handled it differently, right? They didn't do an outright ban. They certainly didn't talk rhetorically anywhere like how the Trump administration is talking. You're a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Are you aware of any intelligence suggesting terror plots from these countries right now that would show this was a real and present danger necessary for a ban?
There are no credible, real threats on the homeland as of 2 days ago. But one of the things I sat on this past Congress, I sat on a task force that looked at foreign fighters. These are, there's over 200 Americans that have gone into Iraq and Syria to fight with ISIS. And one of the problems that we saw was that our European allies weren't vetting known travelers against watch lists, information that we were providing about people connected to terrorism. There are visa loopholes and issues that need to be tightened up. And we've passed legislation in the last Congress looking at some of those issues, and we're looking to reintroduce those in the House. They passed in an overwhelmingly bipartisan way. We had some problems in the Senate.
Yeah. So I just want to understand. So it sounds like what you're saying is that the threats, such that they are, as you see them now, are much more likely to come from Europe, whether it be people who have gained access to Europe. As by the way, we've seen Europeans with European passports able to go ahead and perpetrate acts. That's what you're saying, not these 7 countries.
It's a lot quicker to slip into, to be fighting in a place like Iraq or Syria, slip into Turkey, get into Europe, find a fake European passport, and come through one of our ports of entry. That is something that would take a significant less amount of time, and the folks that we have to fight against are people that are smart, that are committed. And having spent 9.5 years as an undercover officer, I recognize the threats that we're facing. The reality is the world that we live in is more dangerous than our parents, and our kids are likely to inherit a world that's more dangerous than ours. And so doing everything we can to fight Islamic terrorism is important, but we got to have allies.
So you would hope, from where you see right now, obviously given your view on this ban, that Washington State's temporary restraining order is upheld.
Well, I think we need to pass legislation here in the House and the Senate that deals with some of these visa loopholes, that do things like help provide resources to countering violent extremism. The threat of ISIS, their ability to inspire people even if they're 7,000 miles away, is unprecedented, and we need to be taking the fight there and dealing with those issues.
Before we go, House Republicans, I know, held a closed-door meeting today on how to protect themselves at town halls and your offices from protesters who are rallying against the repeal of Obamacare, police monitoring town halls. Some things I know were talked about, having a backdoor at congressional offices to be able to exit from. I mean, these are pretty serious things to contemplate. Are you concerned about your safety because of GOP efforts to repeal Obamacare?
Well, I think any member that is doing public going to public and doing town halls should be mindful of their security. We've had examples over the years of threats against members of Congress, and not just members of Congress, any elected officials. So making sure that you're focused on security, not only of yourself and your staff, but the individuals that are coming there, is something that's important.
All right, Congressman Hurd, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Aaron.
Tonight on CNN, Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Ted Cruz will debate the future of health care. That is a live debate. It is tonight at 9. And next, breaking news, Senate Democrats threatening yet another all-nighter tonight. Wait till you hear why. We're going to go live to Capitol Hill for that breaking news. And on a much lighter note this evening,